All right, so Freud was a psychologist who recommended cocaine at one point, and one of his close friends died as a result. They used to give heroin as a cough suppressant, and people used to get injected with cocaine and cola. It's funny how this country has a long history of making prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals that were extremely harmful and addictive and they kill people at a high rate. Very dangerous, horrendous drugs. And what do we have nowadays? A bunch of prescription pills. We haven't moved past that. We still do that, and we give it to kids now. At least back then, for the most part, it was mostly restricted to adults. Now they target kids at a ridiculous rate because they're too stupid to know better. Prescription pills tend to be given to the people who are too stupid to know better. That's one thing that people on prescription pills tend to have in common. They're too stupid to know another way to deal with their problems, and they're too stupid to know that how harmful and how evil it is to take these pills. And who do these people tend to be? Foster children. They don't have a strong family structure. They don't really know better. It's part of the reason why the New World Order wants to break down the family, so they can make a ton of money off you and control you because you're too stupid to know better and you don't have a strong support system. Anyway, also it's important to note that guns don't kill people. People kill people. And for the same reason, people don't kill people. Ideas kill people. Ideas are the living things that kill and cannot be killed. Now let's talk about evolutionary psychology, principles, premises, history, and if we have time, theoretical foundations, evolved psychological mechanisms, and environments of evolutionary adaptiveness. From Wikipedia. Evolutionary psychology, EP, is an approach in the social and natural sciences that examines psychological structure from a modern evolutionary perspective. It seeks to identify which human psychological traits are evolved adaptations, that is, the functional products of natural selection and sexual selection. Adaptionist thinking about psychological mechanisms such as the heart, lungs, and immune system is common in evolutionary biology. Some evolutionary psychologists apply the same thinking to psychology, arguing that the mind has a modular structure similar to that of the body, with different modular adaptations serving different functions. Evolutionary psychologists argue that much of human behavior is the output of psychological adaptations that evolve to solve recurrent problems in human ancestral environments. Evolutionary psychologists suggest that EP is not simply a subdiscipline of psychology, but that evolutionary theory can provide a foundational meta-theoretical framework that integrates the entire field of psychology in the same way it has for biology. Evolutionary psychologists hold that behaviors or traits that occur universally in all cultures and are good candidates for evolutionary adaptations, including the abilities to infer others' emotions, discern kin from non-kin, identify and prefer healthier mates, and cooperate with others. They report successful tests of theoretical predictions related to such topics as infanticide, intelligence, marriage patterns, promiscuity, perception of beauty, bride price, and parental investment. I wish I could explore some of those topics, but let me finish here. Maybe another video for another day. The theories of and findings of EP have applications in many fields, including economics, environment, health, law, management, psychiatry, politics, and literature. Controversies concerning EP involve questions of testability, cognitive and evolutionary assumptions such as modular functioning of the brain and large uncertainty about the ancestral environment, importance of non-genetic and non-adaptive explanations, as well as political and ethical issues due to interpretations of research results. Wow. Let me just read that last part again, because many of you don't seem to understand this phrase right here. I mean, I try. It's almost like it's pretty central to my argument against psychiatry, my criticism of psychiatry. Political and ethical issues due to interpretations of research results. I mean, You know, if you don't remember anything else I say, I think that's one of those things I can honestly say that, hey, this is a key point that I want you to remember if you don't remember anything else. The political and ethical issues surrounding this as a result of research and the research itself, how biased is it? You know, how solid is it? What is the testability of it? What is the accountability of it? What is the validity of it? But anyway, let me move on. Scope. You know, let's skip the fucking scope. You know, I'll put a screenshot of that, and you know, I'll cut it. Let's cut to the chase. Evolutionary psychology is founded on several core premises. Oh, there's a lot of good stuff here. You know, I kind of want to read the whole thing, but I'm already at 6 minutes. So, the brain is an information processing device, and it produces behavior in response to external and internal inputs. Oh, this goes back to my argument about why women are more evil than men, and how raising and rearing a child is why we have so many evil men and women. Anyway, moving on. The brain's adaptive mechanisms were shaped by natural and sexual selection. Well, I think that term sexual selection is kind of misleading. And I think natural selection in an artificial environment is also misleading. You know, I'd say that part of it goes back to when we were a part of nature, when we were more integrated, more apart, more adapted and acclimated to natural environments. Yes, part of that was shaped that way. I do agree. But I think you can't exclude the last 10,000 years or so of artificial, quote-unquote, civilizations, empires, and cultures. Different neural mechanisms are specialized for solving problems in humanity's evolutionary past. Yeah. The brain has evolved specialized neural mechanisms that were designed for solving problems that recurred over deep evolutionary time, given modern humans' stone-aged minds. Yeah, okay. But it goes back to what I said about the other thing. Most contents and processes of the brain are unconscious, and most mental problems that seem easy to solve are actually extremely difficult problems that are solved unconsciously by complicated neural mechanisms. Interesting. Human psychology consists of many specialized mechanisms, each sensitive to different classes of information or inputs. These mechanisms combine to produce manifest behavior. Oh, that was quite eloquent. You know, well done. Exactly. My sentiments, exactly. Let me read that one again. I like that one. Human psychology consists of many specialized mechanisms, each sensitive to different classes of information or inputs. Rearing. The mechanisms combine to produce manifest behavior. So they combine, they come together, and you get the behavior, you know, rape, stealing, Babylonian culture, vulnerability to Babylonian inputs, you know, these kind of things. Wow, you know, if I'm reading any more, I'm going to run out of time. I want to elaborate here. You know, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. You know, let me. This is important. This is good stuff. Sequential versus static perspective. Historical/developmental explanation of current form in terms of historical sequence. Current form, explanation of the current form of species. How versus why questions. Oh, this is good. This is good stuff. I should have been an evolutionary fucking psychologist. Anyway, proximate how an individual organism's structures function. Evolutionary why a species. Well, I'm just not reading it right. But yeah, that's what it says. Evolutionary. Why a species evolves the structures, adaptations it has. Ontogeny. Developmental explanations for changes in individuals from DNA to their current form. Phylogeny. The history of the evolution of sequential changes in the species over many generations. Mechanism. Mechanistic explanations for how an organism's structure structures work. Adaptation, a species trait that evolved to solve a reproductive or survival problem in the ancestral environment. Wow. Oh, wow. So what do we have here? Because you got to remember, when you're talking about psychology, you're talking about how they see it. Theories of psychology, how they see it. They're going to look at these theories and they're going to start applying them to real life, testing them out. That's why they do these experiments. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So they're going to say, let's try this theory. Let's try this theory. And eventually we're going to get something that gives us, some kind of desired outcomes, whether or not is absolutely correct, because it's on the right path. In a way, all these theories are somewhat on the right path, but some of them are more applicable and more conducive to experimentation to achieve expected results, to meet expectations. Ooh. Now, I think it's very important to look at the how versus why. I think everything I just read, absolutely important. Pretty much everything on this fucking pages. But I got to some of the most important stuff. They talk about Darwin and natural selection and the origin of species and blah blah blah. But what you're basically looking at here is the brain is evolved to have certain adaptive mechanisms which influence, and they use the word shape, natural and sexual selection. And then there's neural mechanisms, there's information processing, and all these things are things that can be studied in order to apply mind control. And as everyone rolls with it, as women choose certain people, and as they abandon their religion in favor of science, pseudoscience such as psychology and psychiatry, what you end up happening is that you're going to get theories of how people are meant to not meant to, but how it's the most beneficial for people to behave and to select their significant others. And this goes back to people making the argument that hypergamy is good for society. Just today I was talking about with somebody how there's more attractive men in America than there are attractive women. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm attracted to men. It's fucking disgusting. I'm saying this because it's logic alone would tell you this. 1, men age better than women. 2, men are more interested in sports than women. And 3, women have the effects of pregnancy, which goes back to aging better. So logically, that is part of the scenario. And I brought up something called choosing power. Choosing power and pussy power are pretty much the same thing, more or less. But you can also apply choosing power to men. Men have a certain choosing power, and women have a greater choosing power. So when you're talking about sexual selection, it only truly applies to the truest meaning of the phrase in a natural setting. If we're all in nature and you say, oh, I'm attracted to this person because this type of person, is more sexually attractive to me, and then they breed with that person. But when you have the modern day environment, women will say, yeah, that guy is sexy, but he can't really provide for me, so I'm not as attracted to him. And I'm going to, hypergamy plays a role. And they've done studies. I've cited studies in my other videos. One in Switzerland or something, right? The Swiss Journal of Psychology, I believe it was, where they did a study of women and how they respond to rich men, who men are obviously rich compared to men who don't look so rich. And 7 out of 10, the women gave their numbers to a stranger who appeared to be rich. Okay? And the men who didn't appear to be rich had ridiculously lower results. So I don't really have time to explore everything I talked about here. It's kind of pissing me off. I don't really want to make a part 2, but it looks like I'm gonna have to make a part fucking 2. Fucking shit. My phone's low on battery. Fuck this shit. Fuck society. The bottom line, if you don't understand anything else, is women are a bunch of fucking scum. Babylon's system doesn't help the problem, and I'm out of time.